Hey guys, Steven here, and today I will be showing you what I was able to capture from COMET C 2022 E3 ZTF. I realize that's quite a mouthful, but this is the comet that has been making a lot of news lately. If you've been following social media, if you're um, always looking at astronomy related news articles and things like that, you probably have come across this at some point pretty recently. This is a comet that, as far as I understand, was discovered spring of last year, and of course only now is approaching Earth, and it was actually at its closest to Earth on the first, which on the day of this recording would have been just a few days ago, but it's now moving away from us. Although it's still pretty easily visible, and it should be pretty easily visible for a good portion of this month, from what I understand. But so that was what I was able to capture on Monday the 30th. So it was just a few. It was just almost a week ago, but the comet on that day was pretty bright. I know that originally they had estimated the magnitude to be about magnitude 8, but I think people have been actually observing it to be a little bit brighter than that. Some have even said that you can actually see it with the naked eye if you're in a dark enough site. Of course, where I live in a Bortle 6 zone, so unfortunately that would not be possible to see magnitude 5 to 6 objects, which I believe is what people are observing it right now, is around that range. Um, of course, where I live, it's light pollution. Then you can combine that with the fact that the moon is out right now. It's currently in its waxing gibbous phase. So, unfortunately, I wasn't able to get a whole lot of detail with the fainter object, with the fainter part of the object. I was not able to get, like, for example, like the tail of the comet, but I did get the gases that are immediately surrounding the comet, which is a pretty bright region of gas, and I was able to acquire data for that, which I'll show you here in a little bit. But this is a really spectacular comet. The greenish color is very clearly visible. It was just spectacular to behold, and so if you haven't seen it yet or haven't been able to, of course, wait for a clear night. But once you do, definitely take advantage of the opportunity to try to find it. Go to a dark site if you can. It's definitely worth it. It's pretty cool to be able to see something like this that this doesn't come our way very often. I think of Neowise back in 2020 and how I remember just being really just excited just seeing that. Of course, I'm not comparing this comet to Neowise. It's not even close to the same thing. But but it's cool in its own way. So definitely, I would definitely encourage you guys to get out there and see this thing for yourselves if you can. But yeah, in this video today, I will just be showing you how I acquired the comet, how I was able to get the exposures that I did, and I will then show you, if you wait till the end of the video, I will show you what I would consider to be my final results of my particular experience with capturing this comet, at least as it appeared on January 30th. I may in the near future here try capturing it again. Maybe I'll use different optics this time, perhaps. But in case the weather doesn't cooperate, at least I got something out of it, and I'm super thankful for that. So I will now turn it over to the next portion of the video, where I'll be just sharing about my experience capturing this comet. So on the night that I captured the comet, it was Monday night. I think it was on the 30th of January, and it was a very cold night. And by cold, I mean it was in the negative teens Fahrenheit. So it made setting up and getting my telescope all aligned and everything quite a challenge. Because obviously, unfortunately, where I live, I don't have a permanent pier or mount. I have to do everything I have to reset up everything every single new session. So obviously when it's that cold, your tendency is to want to cut corners where possible, and that was certainly the case for me when I did all the polar alignment and everything like that. I didn't really take the time to do as many ASPA iterations as I normally would do. I think I just did maybe a couple iterations and just figured, it's good enough, close enough. So I did a couple iterations of that, and because my idea was to do the piggybacking with my DSLR camera, and I was using my telephoto lens, this 75 to 300 millimeter. It's an EF lens, which I've used before. I've used it for some of the bigger deep sky objects, and it works pretty well. I've gotten some pretty decent results with like Andromeda Galaxy, for example, which I don't think I have talked about yet on my channel, but I'll have to share it with one of these days. But I have gotten some of the bigger deep sky objects using it, and it does okay. And also too, if you've ever done astrophotography, you'll know this, but with shorter focal lengths, it's a lot more forgiving as far as polar alignment error and stuff goes. Obviously, the longer focal length is, the more zoomed in you are, and obviously that's going to lead then to greater error that's associated with that, and it requires then more accurate tracking. And usually, when you get really long focal lengths, then you have to have guiding systems and things like that that can actually um, work alongside your mount to that, so that it accurately can track with a deep sky object or whatever it may be. But anyway, I was using the shortest possible focal length with my telephoto lens, which was, of course, 75 millimeters, which is a pretty wide field of view, considering what I was using it for that night. So I wanted to keep it easy. I didn't want to have to deal with any kind of polar alignment related issues or anything. So I figured, okay, I did a couple iterations of PA, so I should be good to go for at least like 2 minutes of exposures for that kind of focal length. So that's what I went with. So I got to work, and it wasn't difficult to find at all because I had the right essential and declination coordinates. I just looked them up online and plugged them into my um, to my mount software, and lo and behold, it showed up right there right away. And so this was basically the first image I got of it. As you could see, it wasn't hard to spot at all. There's the background stars, and unfortunately, where I live, it's pretty washed out because I live in a Bortle 6 zone, which is pretty heavily light polluted. It's not the worst out there, but it's not ideal by any stretch. And the moon was out too. The moon that night was just beginning its waxing gibbous phase, so there was a lot of glow in the sky, as you could see. It was far from being dark, so I had to make sure to really turn my ISO, which I normally keep around 800 to 1600 for most of my exposures, but that night I think I had it down to like 100. Like I had to turn it all the way down because it was just glowing that much. So this is the result of 2 minutes of exposure at ISO 100. So as you can see, the comet is not difficult to spot at all. It's literally right here, as you can see. So there's the fixed stars in the background. And this is what really blew me away because the comet, at least on that particular night, was rapidly approaching Earth. It was not going to be at its closest to us until the 1st of February, which at the day of this recording was just yesterday. So it's moving away from us now. But on the 30th, it was rapidly approaching us. And it was crazy to see just how much movement you can actually pick up on in just 2 minutes. Because there's the stars, right? They're fixed points, which means, my mount was tracking pretty accurately with, this kind of focal length and stuff. So I didn't have a problem with that. But as you could see, though, the comet, it has an elongated shape, just slightly. Nothing drastic, but it is there. So basically, you can actually watch this comet move. If you're looking at it in a telescope with an eyepiece and just visually observing it, you can actually see it move in real time. So this thing is booking. It's really booking along because it's that close to us. And so I was very encouraged when I first saw this because clearly you can make out the greenish hue. It is definitely there. The data is definitely there. But I was also disappointed for a couple of reasons, and it's pretty apparent just by watching this. But first and foremost, there's no tail, and the reason for that is because, well, the moonlight combined with the light pollution just washed it all out. I had no way of capturing those kind of fine details like that. I was able to capture just barely the vapors and the gases because a comet is an ice ball basically, hurling through space. It's as it approaches the sun, it starts to evaporate because of the sun's heat, and so that's what you're basically witnessing here. It's basically you're seeing an ice ball essentially vaporize. I don't know off the top of my head why it gives off a greenish hue in this particular case. I'm assuming it's probably the type of gases that it's emitting that is causing it to be green, but I don't have the scientific reason for that. But you can see though this comet is booking really quickly. I'll show you that in a couple of seconds. But anyway, not to get too sidetracked there. But the second reason why I was disappointed when I first saw this was because, well, unfortunately, the power lines got in the way. So where I live, if you look to the north, that's where our power lines are. They run parallel to basically our street, and my house is a north facing house, so if you're going to look that direction, you're almost guaranteed to be looking at power lines. They just get in the way. I was afraid that was going to happen. I knew the comet was going to be towards the north, and I had a feeling that might have happened. And of course, my fears did get realized here very clearly. So, in case you're wondering, no, this is not a streak of some meteor. This is not a jet plane that's, it's not anything like that. This is simply just the power lines that got in the way. And so what I had to end up doing then is I had to keep my number of exposures short, unfortunately, because I knew that, well, obviously, if you look between different frames, the power lines don't move, but the stars do. So I knew that if I'd have done so many exposures and tried to stack them later, well, the stacking software was going to go kind of weird and ballistic because it's going to basically stack all the power lines from all my exposures. And so that's going to completely take over my final image, and I would then lose the comet. Well, I didn't want that. So unfortunately, I had to sacrifice data for being able to see the comet at all. So I only was able to get, as you can see here, I only got like 5 exposures. Only 5 because that was all I had time for. Now I could have waited until I could have waited later until the power lines got past the comet, but I didn't have time for that night. Unfortunately, I had other things going on, other priorities and stuff. So I kept it brief. It was also, not just as a reminder, it was very cold out there that night, so I didn't know how long my camera battery is going to last. Probably not very long at all, honestly. So I kept it brief. But as you can see, though, the comet, I know I said this already, but the comet is moving so quickly that you can actually watch it move in between sub exposures. As you can see, just watch the background stars, and you can see the comet moving with respect to the background stars. So the comet is not even moving at sidereal rate. because it's so close to us and it's moving so fast that you can visibly watch it move. It's I think it's pretty fascinating. It's really cool that you can actually see it move like that. Um, but the movement of the comet, though, was what made this experience one of the more challenging ones for me when I was doing the post processing and stacking and stuff, because obviously I don't have stacking software that allows me to, for one, manually stack, and two, to specifically, to specify what I want as the fixed point. I use DeepSkyStacker for all my stacking. Of course, unless it's planetary or lunar, then I use AutoStacker. So, but unfortunately, DeepSkyStacker does not give you the ability to, at least as far as I know, anyway. And I tried looking for this already on my own. I couldn't find anything. But if you know more about this, guys, let me know in the comments. But I tried to look up to see if there was even an option to pick a point to stack, and as far as I could tell, there wasn't. So I had to basically just stack with the background stars. So what happened then was the result being that my final comet image. I'll show you what I got. Um, there's a lot of data. The stars are fixed, but the comet is a bit elongated. But nothing too drastic, but it was elongated. This is a total of 9 minutes of integration because I had 4 2-minute subs and one 1-minute sub. So that's 5 sub exposures with a total of 9 minutes, which isn't a lot, but that was all I could do that night. So, but it was still enough data though to be able to clearly make out the comet's greenish hue and the outer, the vapors and gases that are coming from it that are evaporating, as the ice ball is heating up, going past the sun. But even with 9 minutes of exposure, though, unfortunately, it was not enough to capture the finer details, such as the tail, the tail that actually goes pretty far out past the comet itself. It was not possible given the circumstances, given the moon glow and my light pollution issue, and probably even the limitations of the optics themselves probably played a role in that with my lens. Like I said, I think it's not the greatest lens out there for astrophotography, but it does the job at entry level anyway. I keep things stupid simple. That's kind of what I've always done, as a way to encourage other people out there that they don't have to invest in tens of thousands of dollars to enjoy this hobby. Now, I'm never going to have, you know, super professional quality images with what I have. I'm not expecting to, but this is just the love of the hobby. It's just, to me, it's really exciting just to be able to see this at all, because I had no way of visually seeing the comet with the naked eye given where I live. But longer exposures allow me to see this glorious object. It's just wonderful to be able to behold. But as you can see, though, I tried to edit. Unfortunately, there's just so much light pollution in the background, and I didn't bother with the calibration frames this time. But as you can see, I tried to edit this the best I could, but there is just no good way to do it. Um, I feel like this is probably my best result, and that's going to be the one that I'm going to be officially calling my result of Comet C 2022 E3. I'm sure there's more to the name than that, but that's what I remember off the top of my head right now. But I will say that's my official result. And I would recommend, guys, if you can, definitely get out there and watch this comet. It's really fun. It's pretty exciting to be able to see something like this. This particular comet won't be around again for definitely not in our lifetimes. Um, so you know, I would encourage you guys to get out there while you can and enjoy this thing. And that is it for today's video. So if you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed what you saw and the results that I was able to get from this comet. Again, it wasn't quite what I was expecting to get from it, but I'm happy with the results nonetheless, just given the circumstances. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and be sure to like and subscribe if you like to see more of this kind of content. And until then, clear skies and cheers.